Hello, everybody. Andy Jacob here with the DotCom Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. Settle in, everybody, because we have a fantastic entrepreneur on the show today. I call him a serial entrepreneur. I mean, he does leadership training. He knows so much about leadership, and that understanding about leadership has led him into a fascinating entrepreneurial journey. Of course, Chad Silverstein, you may have heard his name. He's the founder and CEO of a company called Choice Recovery. And he has some other businesses as well that we'll get into. But the Choice Recovery business is a remarkable business. It's a collection business. And of course, when you're in business, we always know that things go as well as we want them to go. But sometimes you get thrown a curveball. Sometimes people don't pay. Sometimes things happen. And of course, in this world that we live in, it's understandable. So Chad has a very unique way of looking at this collection business. He's one of the leaders in the field. Chad, welcome to the DotCom Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show. Of course, there's so much to unpack with what you do. I mean, everybody knows about Choice Recovery, and you've got other entrepreneurial ventures. You'll love this position of teaching leadership, understanding leadership, and knowing what it's all about. So before we get started, Chad, let's pull the lens back to 30,000 feet and tell us about Choice Recovery.
Okay. So, I started Choice when I went to Ohio State out of my apartment on campus, and I have never looked back. I've been 25 years now in the business, and I just pounded the pavement, and I built the kind of company that I wanted to work in. So the culture and the leadership is everything that I thought would be something that I would want my kids to come work in. So it just made sense to me to run it that way and not to do it the way everyone else was doing it.
Yeah, I love it. Of course, Ohio State University, Buckeyes. And of course, I'm a Michigan guy, so we're going to have a good time today. Now, Chad, let's talk about it, because what types of clients reach out to you at Choice and they say, hey, we've heard about Choice. Everybody's talking about it. I was at a seminar. I saw you speak. Chad, they get to you in so many different ways. The companies that come to you at Choice Recovery, what types of companies reach out to you? What's the big problem that they're having right now?
Yeah, it's funny. There's such a segmented market in the collection industry that people don't understand. But there's different types of debt, and so you have credit card debt, you have student loan debt, you've got everything from healthcare debt to just anything commercial and consumer. And so collection agencies usually have a niche, they have a specialty. When I started the business, I went after medical. It was easy. I walked into every doctor's office I could walk into. I would speak to the office managers, and I built up the business by pounding the pavement and getting one client after a client, just saying, hey, there's no money up front, there's no contracts. We'll be nice to your patients, because obviously doctors' offices and hospitals, they care about putting people back on their feet. They don't want to crush people financially, but they also have a business they have to run. So for us, it's been mostly medical. And then what we did over the past decade is that we've diversified our client base. We currently now have around 5,000 clients across the country, and we represent anywhere from universities and private education, and also commercial as far as financial services, consumer, and healthcare. That's really where we're really focused on.
Yeah, it's a great focus, a great niche, and you've expanded out. And the thing that we really love, the thing that resonated for our team when we looked into you and your company is, you have this very unique people's first approach. And we love that so much. And let's talk about that. Where did that come from? Where did that sort of understanding of how to deal with people come from?
So I was a victim of identity theft when I first started my business. And it's one of the highest crimes right now going on, and people don't know what's happening. But when you find out, it crushes you, and it takes forever, and the credit reporting, and they don't want to talk to you. When I called the collection agencies, I had the worst experience of my life. And I remember thinking, there's no way I'm going to own a company that puts people through that. So as we started developing and having new people join our team, we were working hard on the leadership piece. And that's where a lot of my passion comes from, building culture and really trying to gather a group of people together that come from such different parts of every part of life and get them to work as one team at a collection agency. And so I had a vision to change the perception of collections. And I knew I had to do that with every person and everything that we do, so that when you touch our business, we wanted you to walk away thinking, I can't believe that's a collection agency. And one of my employees challenged me about, what are we doing? And being nice wasn't enough. So I had started a new department called customer care. We started helping people get jobs. And I took one collector off her desk. I said, I don't care what you do, call every person that is in debt that wants help and help as many people as possible. And she came to me after the first day, a little upset because nobody wanted our help. And we couldn't believe it. How could someone not want our help? I said, keep trying, find someone, pour your heart and soul into that person. And when she helped that first person get that job, and that person sent us a letter, and people in our company were in tears hearing what had happened when we did what we did to help this person. It just took off, and the collection team just started offering it to people. And over time, it started to develop into something we called Restart, and we launched it as a separate service. And the bottom line is we help people for free who are in our system for collections because they can't pay their bill. So it just makes sense to try to help them.
Wow, it's so powerful. And of course, when we think about it, and of course, for the entrepreneurs watching the show, rewind what Chad just said. I mean, that's a perfect, he almost gave you a Harvard MBA there. I mean, he had a identity theft situation. He started having to call and fix his own identity through the theft. And he got such terrible service. He said to himself, man, there has to be a better way. I know I can do better. I know that with my leadership expertise and my passion to help people, I can do a better business plan, a better business program. And of course, this program that you put together, Chad, is remarkable. And this idea, I mean, this is just crazy. This is mind-blowing. This is what really blew us away, is that you're collecting, but at the same time, you've got this Restart program where you're helping the people as well. Let's talk about that, because that's just brilliant.
That's incredible. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just trying to help people. And since we weren't charging them, we didn't care what they said, because we were like, how could you complain? What are you going to say? Thanks so much for trying to help me so much. So we figured, just do what you can, pour your heart in these people. And we started to get good at it. We've helped thousands of people. And the rule is you're not allowed to say that we got the person the job, because that wasn't our goal. We were trying to help people. And if that means making that warm connection or giving them a tool or a resource or whatever it is. And so when we separated it out, it really gave the collaboration, the innovative approach to collections, and to be a front runner in the industry and to be able to talk to clients and tell them what we're doing. I cannot tell you how many conversations I've been with in a large hospital system, or just anyone who's turning over anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 people a month. And what happens is 66% of the bankruptcies in America, for the most part, are caused by medical debt and healthcare. And so, you have billboards on the highway where the hospitals are saying, we care about people, and we put them on our feet, but no one talks about when a button gets pressed and files get sent to a third party, and that party then sells the debt and it goes to another different collection agency, and people go through years of pain, and it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars if they don't get their credit report repaired over a certain amount of time. So it's a maze that consumers get thrown into. And the worst part is, during COVID and people got unemployed and they were underemployed, 70% of America hates their job. It's not a good situation. And the job situation is changing so drastically. You have about 80 million jobs over the next decade going to be replaced by automation and robots. Now, granted, technology is going to bring that many jobs probably to the market, but the fact is people aren't prepared. They're not prepared. Our university system right now is putting more people in debt, 4 times the amount of debt than credit card debt. And they come out, and I interview people. I've probably interviewed over 1,000 people over the past 20 years, and they come in with their degree. And I have to tell you, I don't care. I want to make sure that they can actually do the job that we need them to do. And a lot of times it has a lot to do with who they are. And that's the leadership part. And we look for authenticity. We look for transparency. We look for people who want to come in and want to make a difference and do something a little bit bigger than themselves. And so when you get that, it's incredible.
It's really incredible. And I want to get into leadership, of course. It's one of the reasons why we're so excited to have you on the show. But one thing that you were able to do at the company, Chad, I mean, first of all, the retention rate of the companies that you have with your company, they're remarkable. I mean, their published retention rate, so many people, once they start with you, they just never leave. I mean, you probably have, lifetime customers, which is great. But one thing that really resonated for us is, you can recover what other companies can't, we feel, because you really help people with sort of the root cause of their financial stress. So let's talk about that, because that's super interesting.
Yeah, and there's two pieces to that. One is going to be when you actually show people that you care, and they're at home and they're in debt, and a lot of people are in debt, and they have to pay one bill this month, and they've already taken care of their necessities. They're going to pay the person who called that was nice, the person who cared. So for us, it's common sense. It's not common practice throughout the industry. And I think the problem is that in the collection industry, you have such a negative stereotype that even the employees that work at the collection agencies are unhappy. So the turnover is so bad that the agencies kind of have to run it a certain way. So our whole aim was to do it the opposite. We flipped it upside down. And I'll tell you, pushing to 100 people, it's harder to keep the culture that strong. But yeah, we do have, I still have some of the first people on my team to still be on ours 20 years, later, and our clients too. And it's fun to watch because it's not like they have to use us. They can go use another company. They can go work at another company. So we've really been able to create the culture that attracts people. It's beautiful.
Yeah, Chad, it's a beautiful story. We're going to get into leadership. And I have one last question. Oftentimes people that have these types of problems and have collections, things start steamrolling and they start steamrolling and rolling. And then one thing leads to another. And then the next thing leads to the next thing. And all of a sudden, they don't just have one collection. They've got a number of different collections.
Right.
Now, I don't want to get into the weeds, but high level, how does it work? So someone, is just overwhelmed. They've got 5 or 6, collections. Right. What happens? Do they all get consolidated? What's the process? It's
incredible because we make so many calls and talk to so many people every day that we see it every day. And what happens is someone falls behind because they either for a month or they're unemployed for a month or they're getting back on their feet or whatever happens. It's usually a large medical bill or some big expense puts them behind and they can't pay their bill. As soon as that happens, it triggers the creditor to say, missed payment. And every creditor has a different process. And usually after about 3 missed payments, they send it to a collection agency. And right now, you can't blame, there's nothing they can do. They spend so much money and manpower and they lose money because they're fees. So I can't blame our clients. They have to do it. But with Restart, we actually give that opportunity to them to help their people too. So we really made it an all-inclusive community effort so that when people are falling behind, it does make sense to try to help them before something's going to hurt them more. So we want people to be thinking about possibilities, not penalties. We want them thinking compassion, not collections. But we understand collections is something you have to do. You just want to use that as your last effort, not the first thing you do when someone falls behind.
Yeah, it's so awesome. And I love what you just said. You want people to think about possibilities, not penalties. I mean, I could see that being the name of your next book or the book that you're writing or what's coming out next, because you're, of course, a prolific writer. If anybody wants to check Chad out, go to his website. He's got some great articles on there and some very interesting thoughts, and he's got some videos as well. But let's talk about leadership. When we think about companies, and we're talking to the younger entrepreneurs that watch the show, Chad, what are some key points you can give them about, being a great leader?
So I just got done with an internship group that I put high school kids through a leadership course that we do called Built to Lead. And I tell your audience the same thing I told these kids is that where I think I excel is I work really hard on myself. And I try to show them what it looks like instead of telling them what they should be doing. And so that if they can point to me and say, look what he did, I think that's going to be a lot more powerful than what he told me I should do. And I think for me, I don't speak about much unless I've done it, because I don't think I have the right to speak about it unless I've done it. And I can tell you what I did and what the results were. And I've had many more failures than I've had successes. But as a quick start visionary, that one idea that I can get into and I can dig deep and get a team around me to help me, usually I can hit a grand slam. One of my favorite things to do and where my leadership kind of bubbles up is that I just focus on a big magnum opus of what I'm trying to pursue. And I think so few people do that when you do that, you are attractive enough to let other people want to join you. And when you're working on yourself and you're aiming towards a worthy ideal, to me, that's how I would define someone who's successful. And, along the path, as every entrepreneur knows, we go through, but usually things are going around us and we're still headed that way. We just didn't get there the way we thought we would. And I think for the kids and the high school kids, there could be no more powerful lesson than knowing who you are, how you want to live, and then aim at something big. Because if you do, you're probably less than 1% of the population is doing it.
Yeah, I love it. Of course, you're a big proponent of the can-do attitude versus the can't-do attitude. And you speak and mentor so many young people. It's really fascinating and very important, of course, to have mentorship throughout the world. And of course, you and I both know as entrepreneurs, and for the younger entrepreneurs watching the show, that, if you're not hitting those roadblocks, if you're not hitting those potholes in the road, you're just not pushing hard enough. So for the younger entrepreneurs, Chad, watching the show, let's give them some insight, because they're hitting potholes. They might be freezing in the frame, freaking out a little bit. Maybe they don't know what to do because they're younger and they haven't experienced that. What type of advice, Chad, can you give to the younger entrepreneurs that are hitting those roadblocks?
I would say stop with the conventional wisdom of thinking that you're going to be doing what everyone says you always should be doing. The days of just doing your thing, going to college, getting your diploma, coming out, getting a job, those days have changed and work has changed. And with COVID hitting the way it did, and with what's happening with technology and all the things that are happening so fast, it's happening at such a speed, much faster than we're progressing. So when people come out of college now, the job that they thought they might get when they went in may not be even around anymore. And I think right now, because of the unknowns, what I'd say the best thing a young professional doing right now is do what you love, and also be very aware of where you're getting all of your information and where your focus is. I mean, usually my coach likes to tell me that if I pull out my iPhone and I look at the first page of my apps, that's my biggest influence, because that's where I'm getting my information from. And what we do in our Built to Lead leadership is we get clear on what we believe and we write. And we believe that leaders are writers, and you have to know what you believe in order to live a certain way that you want to live, to go after something you want to go after. And if you're not thinking, which I've learned today, most people are not doing as much because we're so distracted and pinged into other things. But to sit down and take time to think about what you believe and getting clarity, so that as things happen, you can actually take a stand instead of kind of having to sway like a ping pong no matter what's happening in your life. And right now I see a lot of younger, leaders having a hard time with that, because of the amount of distractions that we have around us, and they're just coming at us at lightning speed. So I think slowing down and being able to get clear on what you believe and how you want to live and what you love to do. I mean, what can get better than that?
Yeah, I love it. And of course, all those things coming at us is by design. And when you think about it, that, they're throwing things at us on the phone, on the computer constantly. It's not just happenstance. It's being done by design through an algorithm and through AI and technology. And they kind of have us where they want us. So we have to be very careful about that. Now, Chad, let's talk about something interesting. I'm going to throw a little curveball at you, Ohio State Buckeye. I mean, you'll be able to handle this. What would you say to yourself? What would you say to the younger Chad Silverstein if you could speak to yourself when you were 20 years old?
Well, that's a great question. I'd say you just have no clue how much you don't know. And to just keep working on yourself and have self-awareness of the impact that you have around other people. And sometimes I've overlooked the blind spots that have been pointed out to me numerous times. And sometimes I may talk too much and not listen as much as I should. And I'm excited, I'm passionate, I love what I do, and I want to help people. And sometimes I can get in my own way, and I can, sometimes struggle and sort of create a self-sabotage situation because I take on too much and don't know when to say no. I'm a collaborative partner with Gino Wickman at EOS. We're in a program called Strategic Coach. And I remember hearing him in a keynote say, you have to love to say no. You have to love it. And I've tried to adopt being able to just say no with that kind of devilish smile, because I know that it protects the time so that I can be with my family and my spiritual pursuits and my business, and have enough time to have, a balanced, as much as I can, work life, and to blend it so much so that I don't know if I'm working or I'm playing, or if I'm volunteering, or if I'm building into somebody. I'm just doing what I love. And if I can just do that and put my head down at the end of the night and sleep well because of what I'm doing, I'm a pretty happy person. The collection industry is a very difficult industry, and people come after us. We're targets for people because we're the big bad guys, and we're not. And if you look at the industry, it's heavily regulated. Everyone's nice. Everyone's scared to be sued. Everybody's consumer protection, or it's a lot of power right now. So it's a myth. And just because there are some bad apples out there, okay, there are, of course, but every industry has them. And I think if you take a closer look at the collection industry, you'll see that a lot of improvements have been made, and everyone's trying to do what they can for consumers. No one's trying to be sharks, but of course there are those out there that do that. And typically they're in the debt buying industry, and then they own the debt, so they can go after it the way they go after it.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Of course, you mentioned the EOS system, the traction, and you're a big proponent of that. I mean, you could teach people that in your sleep, and you've done so well using it in your own companies. I know you've only cut out a certain amount of time today, but I wanted to kind of end with this because, I know you believe in giving back. I know that's a big thing about not only your business life, but your personal life as well. You believe in giving back. I mean, you can just hear your passion about giving back to the young entrepreneurs, the high school kids. How important is it, do you feel, for a company to sort of start thinking about the ways they can give back to the community in various ways? And how important has that been to you and your growth at the companies that you've, led?
So in our program at Strategic Coach, we talk a lot about collaboration, and the world is kind of changing. And the days of just staying so focused in your vertical compared to companies that are on platforms or that collaborate with other companies and they can multiply their efforts and their capabilities have changed the game. And that's why the Amazons and all the platforms are doing so well, because everybody's connected to it. So people want to feel connected. So what I've been doing over the past several years, and really through COVID, is I built partnerships with other entrepreneurs and other leaders who have a capability that I don't have. I gave them mine, and we brought those together, and we've been able to create things to give back to people. And so now it's more of is how much can we expand it? So I can hit my demographics at people who are putting collections, but then I have my synagogue who might be able to give it to people in the community. And then you have another company that does resumes, and they connected with me and they can give it to their customers. And I think getting everybody connected to help each other without expecting anything in return, it's life-changing, especially when you can get someone a job they love. And right now, the odds are stacked against job seekers in ways that are ridiculous. The applicant tracking systems have completely taken human beings out of the process, and there's no one fighting for the underdog. So I've been trying to kind of do that. When COVID hit, I built an app using we have a software company called JDev, and we built an app that helps job seekers get jobs. And it's incredible. And there's nothing like it right now. At least I'm biased. So of course I feel that way, but we really, really worked on what would be good for a job seeker, not good for the companies and not good for the employers. And I got to tell you, there's more jobs out there right now than ever before. And it's a job market. So the problem is people don't know what they want to do. They don't know how to pick a job. And the employers don't know how to write a job description that would match to what the job seeker is trying to search for. So there's this complete chaos going on right now. So we're working on companies that we're collaborating with that are creating job descriptions and algorithms so that everybody matches up, just like a dating website, but not at the expense of companies having to spend as much as they do. And I think that's what we're trying to work towards. That's the next expression for our company.
Yeah, it's so powerful. You've taken this, passion of leadership and helping people. I mean, that's really the bottom line. You help people at Choice Recovery. You help people at Restart, and you want to help people at Platform Partners. And we're going to bring you back on the show to talk about that next sort of evolution that you're building, because I think we need 30 minutes just to talk about it because it's so fascinating. But Chad, this has been awesome. I mean, what a great time with you today. There's so much to learn. And again, people like you, great entrepreneurs, we all also need our own mentors and the leaders that we look up to, because it kind of makes a perfect pay it forward type of a situation for everybody involved. So Chad, I wanted to take a minute just to thank you so much for coming on the show today. There's so much to unpack. We're going to bring you back. We want to talk about that Platform Partners and what you're doing with that platform. You kind of teased us at the end there. And from a Michigan guy to an Ohio State guy, we should be able to get along like this. And everybody should be able to get along like this in the future. And Chad, you're a great guest. So thanks so much for coming on the DotCom Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series today.
I want you to know, I watched some of your videos and you have amazing entrepreneurs on your website, and I learned a ton. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great success continuing to interview people.